Sunset, Salty Sage, and Nico Mingo. Thank you guys so much for waiting for me. Sorry I'm late. Happens too often, but I'm here. How are you guys today? It is almost 4 o'clock on the 30th of July. Is it Tuesday? I think it's Tuesday. Wow. What a sucker punch that was yesterday with the Micah Miller settlement, the JP settlement with Micah's family. I have been doing a lot of thinking about it, and I think it's going to be okay. I think that people are going to continue to protest as they see fit. Well, I was really encouraged by JLR and and what they had to say. I was also very, very encouraged to hear that CJ from CJ's Crime Concepts is planning on continuing to protest, because it's not that anybody wants to go against the wishes of Micah's family. It's that, settlements are not, that has nothing to do with the rest of the world and the public between JP and Micah's family. And I want to get into that. One sec. It reminds me a lot of like the domestic violence laws, when it used to be that police could only do something if a domestic violence victim proceeded with pressing charges. And I think it was something like 90% of the time, if not more, victims of domestic violence would withdraw their cases because they were being threatened, or they made up, or what have you. And then it became this thing where it didn't matter if the victim dropped charges, that the state was still going to move forward with charges. Hey, Annie Ruler, Ola from Vegas. All right, so let's get into all of this stuff. I've got a lot to catch up with you guys on Taylor Casey. I've been very interested in that. I keep finding more and more content creators that have covered it. It's just that I have had trouble finding them because, YouTube's not promoting it even when I'm digging for it. Also, always Kylie Rodney, but this Micah Miller thing, I was blown away. Let me start with my stuff. Wait, Tranquility. I moved my signs. Please make sure you're still subscribed. Share a video of mine if you like. Turn on your notification bell to ring. And there's that creepy thumb. If you don't mind hitting your creepy thumb, that would be awesome. Everything that I say is simply my opinion for the sake of starting a conversation, always hoping to open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. All of my videos are made for YouTube, and it's an entertainment platform. So let's get into these cases. So Sierra, Micah's sister, was removed from being the special administrator of Micah's estate. That was part of the settlement. The first thing I want to say about when you're dealing with people who don't play fair is that, and I thought of this for the Rodney Neiman family too, is that if you're presented with a settlement and it's like, okay, look, we're going to give you $1 million if you just walk away, right? The kind of people that are going to do that are not the kind of people that you can say no to if you follow my drift. Annie, you're in Vegas, so I'm sure 100% that you're following it, because if you say, no, thank you, I don't want your $1 million, you can keep it and shove it where the sun don't shine, you're going to get, the cement boots, right? The cement shoes, however they say it. You're not free to say no in some situations. So I think that there's a lot of people that have wondered that in the Kylie Rodney case all along. I think that that's probably where Shan has been coming from for a long time. I don't know that for a fact. So if she tunes in, then maybe we can ask her. But I think that it's a fair assessment to think that that could be the case there. It could be the case in Micah Miller's family's situation. And hopefully it won't become the case for Taylor Casey's mother, because that case is weirder and weirder. Any ideas why she was removed? So that JP can have access to all the money. That's why. Thanks for asking that question, Nico. Um, so yeah, I'll put a link to the JLR live from last night that I was just watching while I was getting ready to do this. It was very insightful. At first, I didn't want to watch anything that was covering the aftermath of the settlement because I was just too upset. But then Veronica Adams inspired me when I saw how upset she was and how upset all of her commenters were. I was like, good, good. I'm not the only one. Um, it kind of feels like we've been sucker punched, doesn't it? I mean, if you care about justice, if you care about justice for Micah and safety for women in domestic violence situations and men in domestic violence situations too, let's not be sexist, right? It's just that most, I don't know what that was. It's just that most domestic violence perps are men. Most of the victims are women, but we all know that there's domestic violence in same-sex relationships and that there's certainly women that are perps and men that are victims. So we don't want to lose sight of that. So let's see. This was something I thought that from the Kylie Rodney case that we could apply to the settlement is that there's honor in silence, right? Like that takes on a bigger meaning, even more so than it always has. That, if they're going to take the money and run, anytime there's a settlement, there's usually the non-disclosure agreement, right? However, it seems that the information was leaked before it was even announced publicly. Allegedly, the settlement was like $130,000, I think, which is not very much. I mean, it's a huge pile of cash. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like wealthy where I'm like, oh, that's just pocket change. No, that's a lot of money. But in this situation, that's not so much money. In JP's situation, that's not that much money. He has access to several millions of dollars of assets, like the value of the assets that the church has that is pretty much all at his disposal. I think it's like 6.6 or 6.7 million. So, yeah. The other thing that's really funny, not funny in this case is I think part of what the lawyers were saying, and is very uncomfortable to see those two lawyers standing next to each other. I've worked in the courts and you don't do that. You don't make friends with the other side. You're cordial and you're polite, but you're not like fist bumping, which they practically were. It almost made you think that she was, I don't know, that there were some strings being pulled behind the scenes with Regina, the attorney representing the Francis family. But what I wanted to say is that both of those attorneys basically said, leave the church alone. I think they used those exact words, leave the churchgoers alone. And man, for those of us who have followed the Watts case, that whole leave Jim alone is like a punchline. I mean, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. But I don't think a lot of the people that are passionate about justice for Micah, I don't think that this is going to slow them down necessarily. And, a lot of times cases getting settled is not what you think it's going to be. And for JP too, like he really just wants people to shut the F up so he can get on with his life. He just wants this whole thing to blow over so he can go back to like being worshiped and being some kind of demigod that he thinks that he is, right? I mean, when you hear him talk, he almost refers to himself as Jesus and as God. You know that he considers himself right up there with them, right? I mean, when he talked about raising Micah from the deceased, well, if Jesus can do it, then why can't I? Well, maybe because you're not Jesus. I don't know. Maybe. And then when he was complaining about one of his employees who he was telling what to do. It might have been the young man that he was accusing of having interactions with his wife that he didn't like. And JP was confronting him and said, don't do this. It goes against, he said something alluding to it going against God. And then the young man's comeback was, if God thinks it's okay, then I can do it. And JP's response was, well, does God sign your paychecks, right? So he thinks if he signs your paycheck, then he's your God. I mean, for those who worship the almighty dollar, which I think is a lot of people, then sure. Sometimes lawyers do socialize outside the courtroom. Oh, Nico, thank you so much for saying that. It's such a good point. And I think a lot of us know, and I kind of forgot to mention it. So when lawyers have a conflict of interest, like, that their kids are best friends with the opposing lawyers' kids, right? Or that they go to the same Christmas parties, or that they play golf together on Sundays. When there's a conflict of interest, which there almost always is, especially in a small town, it is required that the lawyers disclose that in the beginning so that the clients can make an informed choice of whether they want to hire this attorney that is friends with the opposing parties, right? I mean, it's not always disclosed. Going back to the O.J. Simpson case, that was the issue with Judge Ito, was that his wife was at the time, she wasn't the police chief. I think she was a police sergeant for the LAPD. And she had been Mark Furman's supervisor for many, many years. And there were grievances that they filed against each other, Judge Ito's wife and Mark Furman. Judge Ito's wife hated Mark Furman. And people tried to get Ito to not be the judge on that case because of the conflict of interest. And Ito and his wife both perjured themselves. They both said that she didn't really know who Mark Furman was, that yes, she was his supervisor at the LAPD, but that she supervised 160 people and she didn't really know him from Adam, when that was completely untrue. So that's the kind of thing that compromises the case. And it would have had a completely different outcome if Ito wasn't the guy in the robe. Also, a person in his position wants that case because it's their 15 minutes of fame and it's their multi-million-dollar book deal. It's their nest egg. It's their lotto ticket. So this situation, yeah, Myrtle Beach is a small-ish city. I think I looked it up. It was like 130-ish thousand. I don't know. Let me look it up so I'm not too far off the mark. I look up a lot of populations just because that's one of the things that fascinates me about stuff. So Myrtle Beach pop. I'm such a nerd like that. Oh my goodness, you're kidding me. I'm so glad I looked it up. You guys want to guess how far ARF I was? Oh, I said that really funny too. How far ARF? You won't believe how far off I was unless you just looked it up too. I was 100,000 off. I was thinking maybe I was like 100,000 under. I was 100,000 over. This is a really small city. 38,000 in 2022, according to my Google search right now. Holy kaboli. So that's just Myrtle Beach. Then you have North Myrtle Beach. It says another almost 20,000. Hilton Head is close to 40,000. But wow, under 40,000. That is wild. I mean, I've lived in a lot of places, a lot of different sizes. And when I lived in Olympia, Washington, it was about 100,000 population back then. I think it's a lot bigger now. And it was a very small town. Everybody knew everybody, especially if you're dealing with a profession like law, like lawyers. When you get into the professions, even if it's a big city, still everybody knows everybody because you've got like your little microculture. So 40,000 people. And my point was that JP's attorney, the guy who was fist bumping with Micah Miller's family's attorney, his daddy was a judge in Myrtle Beach. Remember his brother was the perv who was showing the full Monty to an 18-year-old and a 12-year-old and got prosecuted for that. And then I think he got his record expunged or some crap. So JP's attorney that's standing there with Micah Miller's family's attorney, his daddy was a judge in Myrtle Beach. So no, in real life, that just says it all right there. And that would be even in a big city like New York or Los Angeles, but in a small town, or not so much a small town, but a small city, a large town. Also, you got to remember where this is happening. It's happening in the South. It's the good old boys club. And the man, the white man, the tall white man with the deep pockets is your boss man. That's just the way it goes. So thank you so much for that comment, Nico. That was brilliant. Yeah. So many notes. I have a lot to say about Taylor Casey. Okay. Taylor Casey's mother, when she was there at the ashram, she left, I think, after 3 days. I think she was planning on staying for a week, but she left for a few reasons. One was to get more help. She wanted to contact the FBI. She wanted to contact authorities directly in the United States. I'm pretty sure she went straight to DC too, which good for her. This is the kind of thing that Kylie Rodney's mom could have done, huh? But this woman at the ashram named Hannah, I think she was one of the yoga instructors that knew Taylor well, that she'd been working closely with her and been in a lot of the classes and the groups with her. Hannah was very knowledgeable, and the mom was not allowed to speak with Hannah. She was not allowed to talk with her the whole time she was there. So another thing that Taylor's mother said that is so concerning is that there was a whole wall of missing persons flyers. Again, this is not a big city. This area on Paradise Island is a pretty small population. Again, why don't I just look it up? Population of Paradise Island. I'm going to bet you it's like a quarter of what we just saw. Population of Paradise. See what a nerd I am. This is how I entertain myself. I guess there's a Paradise Island in Myrtle Beach. So that's good that I looked for Paradise Island in the Bahamas. And it's around 8,000. That's super small, you guys. So in a town of 8,000 people, like that's basically a village. If it's under 10,000, I think technically it's considered a village. So again, I could Google what the current number is, but whether it's considered a village or not, that's freaking crazy. So, but they have a whole wall full of missing persons flyers. Like, so do they have a problem with people getting abducted? And I'm going to use that word because I'm thinking more and more it's looking clearly that Taylor may have been taken. So the reports are that she was last seen on the 19th of June when she was on the beach, and this tall black man, I think wearing all black and wearing the Celtics baseball cap, followed her into the ashram. I think he had sneakers on even. He had on shoes, which is funny that, they're mentioning shoes because how I've been real focused on shoes lately. And I want to know where Taylor's shoes were. Were Taylor's shoes in her tent or were Taylor's shoes with her person? I'm going to guess that they're probably with her person. And if they were in her tent, that maybe they were disposed of. But either way, this man was fully dressed with shoes. He followed her into the ashram under the pretense that he was curious about yoga. And all the authorities tried to say, oh, no need to look at him. He's allowed to be curious about yoga. Right. But he was one of the last people seen interacting with a missing person. So, yeah, you do need to track him down. He said he was from Atlanta or Chicago, allegedly. He needs to be tracked down. You could see him on surveillance cameras if he really was staying at the Atlantis resort. And if he really was staying at the Atlantis resort, you'd have his name on file. And I've worked in that industry. That industry is very private about that type of thing for good reason, but law enforcement can get a warrant and get that information. So, yeah, he needs to be talked to. The fella that was lurking around, and it was on the platform that her tent was on, I believe. That guy with the walkie-talkie. We need to track him down too, right? But the story, they tried to say the last time she was seen was on the beach, but then they slipped up by saying the last time she was seen, she was on the beach, and then that tall man with the Celtics cap, followed her into the ashram. Oh, meaning she was last seen in the freaking ashram, you guys. And then I come to find out that there's ashrams of this same company, same owner, franchise, corporate, I don't know what it is, all over the world. Like, I thought probably this was just an independently owned thing. No. Scary. They also have a history of violating not just people, but people that are underage. There's lawsuits allegedly that some other content creators have spoken about. I'll put some links in the description. I haven't done the research to back that up, but I'll just link the content creators that allege that they have, so you guys can check it out if you're interested. Lawyer's dad is a judge who expunged JP's. I don't know that he was the judge who expunged JP's felony, but that's a really good question, Nico. So that's not what I said, but you could be onto something. I don't know. The judge that expunged it, I've heard the recording because it was post-COVID. I think it was like 2001, 2021 or 2022. It wasn't that long ago. It might have just been 2022. I've heard the recording. The guy just sounds like he's spineless. And he's just like, oh, you want to be able to get guns? Sure. I mean, that's not what JP said. He said he wants to, reinstate his civil rights. But what he meant was, I'm dying to buy some guns. So, yeah, I don't, as far as I know, it's not the same judge, but again, it's immaterial. I mean, JP should have been put in prison for what he did, in my opinion. Running somebody over with his car intentionally and then driving 100 yards with them on the hood, having put tape over his license plate. And I still want to know who that woman was. I'm going to bet you that was domestic violence, that was some kind of partner, I don't know, baby mama or girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, but she was 19 and he was 19. So, yeah, what I had said was something about the lawyer's brother had his record of being a perv with the underage 12-year-old. He had that expunged. And then we know that JP's father had his lewd and lascivious act that happened in a state park that he was busted for. That was expunged. So why are all these pervs getting expunged? I mean, that's weird. Like, usually SOs, those types of offenders don't get expunged, especially if people are underage. Please say I misheard you. Okay, Nico, you did. You misheard me, but I still think you have a really good point. I hope you're doing good. Veronica, I was just talking about you. Were your ears burning? So, yeah, I'm totally inspired by your fury over this crap with the settlement agreement. And I was listening to your real recent drops. Like, I saw that you had done one just like an hour ago, and I got to see part of it, but I was trying to come on live, so I saw that you were just like scrolling through some comments, and I might have been in that comment section because I did make a comment on the 2-minute video that you made about it. Or was that was a 2-minute video? I don't know how long the other one was, but I watched it earlier today, and thank you for that. It cheered me up. It did. If Taylor was intact as a male dressed as a female, if a macho male starts making out and finds out he is kissing a he, she, I've heard they can flip out, feel tricked, and suddenly, yeah. There's, I think that's what that movie Boys Don't Cry was about. And then there was that really good one. I think it had Colin Farrell in it. And it was like in Ireland, and it was the same thing. I can't remember the name of it. It was all the rage like 20 years ago or 25 years ago. Great movie. That exact issue. But the thing with Taylor, if you listen to her speak in that video of her leading the chant 2 days before she disappeared, in my opinion, she has a very distinctively male voice. So looking at her, I would not know that she was trans. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. She's tall and slender, and people love tall, slender women, even if they're flat chested like she is. People love the whole tall, skinny thing, right? So she was tall and skinny and flat chested, but when she spoke, you could really hear her voice. And I don't know if she had an Adam's apple. A lot of times that's kind of what gives people away. Not to mention the man hands, right? To reference that Seinfeld episode. But yeah, I think that might have been one of the reasons why they had her leading the chant, was to kind of check her voice out. Like, when I watched it a few times, I mean, your brain can kind of play tricks with you when you study things like that. But that was a feeling that I got, was that the guy, the guru type of guy that was sitting on the stage across from her, is that he was just kind of chuckling at her voice, and that maybe that's why they wanted her to lead it. I don't know. But it is good that they have her on videotape, and especially that reaction that she had to the woman leaning into her. I think that is very curious, to say the least. I spoke on it yesterday. We need to find out, Veronica. So this case is not new. The Taylor Casey. Nico says it's new. So it's like 6 weeks old. Let's see. So she went missing on June 19th, but she wasn't reported missing for almost an entire week in the Bahamas. She's the 41-year-old woman from Chicago who went to the yoga retreat, yoga teacher certification training program on Paradise Island. So she went missing on the 19th. That was the last time anybody saw her, was on the 19th on the beach, walking into the ashram, being followed by the one tall black guy, and then some other guy having a walkie-talkie who seemed to be connected to him. And there's a woman who said that one of them, I think it was the walkie-talkie guy, had approached her earlier the same day. I have been finding little tidbits of information as I've been digging and just watching everything that I possibly can, and rewatching some of the stuff too, because some of the information I just miss. Like the plunder video is really informative, and I mean, a lot of them are. The one called Let the Fresh Air In, and it's ERIN. She did a really good video on it. So both of those I reviewed and caught more of the details that I had not caught before. So when Taylor Casey went missing, it was not reported right away. The mom flew down pretty quickly because they called her within a day and asked if she knew where Taylor was, because, Taylor's attending this thing where she's supposed to be in class all day long. She paid thousands of dollars for it, and was going to be there for the whole month of June. And this is like a little bit more than halfway through. So she I think, arrived on June 3rd. She is last seen on the 19th. She doesn't show up on the 20th. They call her mom on the 20th. Her mom and her are very tight, and they'd been texting while she was on that trip, I think almost every day. So I think within 3 days, her mom flew down there. And then she left. I started to say this, not only because she felt like she needed to get help from federal authorities in the US, she also left because she felt like it was unsafe for her to stay. And she had one of Taylor's friends with her that may be like a significant other, I don't know. But I think both of them felt threatened, and they both left for preservation of their own safety, is my understanding. And then fast forward a few days to July 5th. So June 25th was the first time that there was a social media post about Taylor being a missing person. And then July 5th was the second post on social media about Taylor being a missing person. And it just so happened to be the same day that the police chief was put on a forced, administrative leave and under investigation, allegedly for a voice message that he sent out. He was the lead on Taylor's case. So the same day that he's put on an administrative leave is the second time that they post about her being missing, 10 days after the first time. And the first time was 5 days late. So this is just bad. It just makes them look bad. And one of the content creators, this was from a guy, and I just loved the way he said it. He said something about how them getting upset and saying that they have nothing to hide makes them look like they have something to hide. So, let's see. Women have deep voices too. Thank you, Veronica. That's a very good point. I mean, I have a pretty deep voice, and you might too. But yeah, my voice is just normal, right? Normal to me. Voice, to me, is very distinctive, and it's unusual. Like if I heard that voice, there was that singer for Concrete Blonde. Anybody? That singer was freaking amazing. Presented as a woman, and she could sing like no one you've ever heard. And it was a long time later that I learned she was trans. So, for a long time, that lead singer of Concrete Blonde didn't address it. I think a lot of people had questions, but it's a really good point. Yeah. I mean, Janis Joplin, she had a deep voice, and Amy Winehouse, Kylie Rodney. So a man walking the beach takes a liking, follows to a building, finds a pet. Maybe she was willing to make out. Oh, Annie, you're so bad. No, I'm just kidding. That was one of my first thoughts when I first was getting the information about this story. But my thought at this point in time is that if trafficking is involved, which if they have a wall full of missing people flyers in a town of 8,000 people, a village of 8,000 people, that's ridiculous. To me, that indicates trafficking right there. That's just not a bunch of people that decided to wander off or offed themselves and were never found. That's indicative of trafficking. So it hadn't occurred to me until like before yesterday that a trans person is probably worth even more dollars than a non-trans person, a cisgender, as they say, in the trafficking world. So, because that's not something I normally think about. My lips are getting dry, excuse me. Just like with Kylie Rodney and Trinity Backus, the fact that they both had green eyes, and Trinity Backus was a redhead. Paisley Woodard was a redhead, also green eyes. Those cases is where I first learned about this whole phenomena of fetishes, basically, that people have, and that they'll pay more for that. Trying to persuade people to be trans? allegedly. Again, I'll put the link to the channel that claims that. I want to say it might be the Truth Tea, True Tea. There's been a lot of good channel I've been finding. But yeah, they had the wrong birthdays. Yeah, True Tea is one of those channels. Tough Topic is another good one. The Vault, and yeah, I'm concerned about this, what they keep referring to as this concerning voice note. So did that have to do with Taylor, or did that have to do with the other case that the police chief was kind of in hot water for, somebody who was assassinated, basically, and he did not want to investigate it. He did not want the police department to investigate it. Allegedly, that's what he's put on the administrative leave for. But the timing, you can't hide things when it's timed like that. That just happened to be the same day as the second time they posted about her. And then law enforcement refused to give Taylor's mom the phone, although it was Taylor's mom and her friend that helped law enforcement locate that phone with, like a 360 app or something like that. But that quote that I said yesterday, that Taylor's mom said that she noticed right away that the ashram and the authorities there were struggling to keep a cohesive narrative. That's very informative. You're not going to struggle to keep a cohesive narrative if you just simply don't know what happened. Then you just simply don't know what happened. So it sounds to me like they know, and they're not sharing that information. So the police chief's name, if you're interested, is Michael Johnson. And then it was the gang member from a gang there in the Bahamas that was assassinated, that he was not wanting to investigate and trying to have the whole department not investigate. So yeah, it really contrasts the mom's reaction, or her response to Taylor being missing is such a contrast to Kylie Rodney's mom's reaction to her kid being missing. It speaks volumes to me. It really does. So there was no height, no weight. I went over this yesterday on the missing persons flyer for Taylor. It just said, I don't even know if it said tall stature or what, but it just said slim build. It said height unknown. That's what it said. Height unknown. You could say tall stature, right? I mean, something. But no. And then some of these flyers did not have a photograph on them, you guys, which she would be so recognizable because she was light-skinned black, and the native folks down there in the Bahamas are very dark-skinned black, and then most of the tourists, especially at the ashram, are white. So her appearance, she would stand out. She would definitely stand out. Brandy Gray was the content creator that I just discovered with all the good Kylie videos. And I was mistaken. I said that her channel only had like 1.3 thousand subs. And I went and checked, and it was 3.3 thousand subs. But still, we should show her some love and blow up her channel a little bit, right? And yeah. So one of the ways that traffickers work, you guys, and you may know this, you may not, they call it like the Romeo or lover boy MO. So somebody will hit on someone and pretend like they're interested in them for their own dating purposes, when really they're interested in them to turn them out. So, going back to what you were saying, Annie, about that, maybe they had a spark and something happened. Okay, Veronica, you're cool. I know you're a busy woman. You have kids and dogs too. I know they take up a lot of our time, don't they? Um, if that's it, no more yoga, Jazz. It's too dangerous. Oh, that's cute. Well, I'm very safety conscious. I have always been very safety conscious in any yoga setting that I'm in. When I was in Seattle, I had a situation with a creep that liked to watch me do yoga. So, yeah, that was like downtown Seattle at a YMCA. And it was somebody I knew, it was somebody that I worked with. But yeah, I mean, you just got to look out for that kind of crap. And most yoga studios are very safety conscious because most of your yoga students are going to be women. They're going to be scantily clad. They're going to be getting in these poses that might be arousing for some. Speaking of which, this one channel, Let the Fresh Air In, has in her video a photograph in her video that's from the main page of the ashram's website with one of the yoga instructors standing over a student, and they're like doing a headstand with splits, and he's holding both of her legs and staring straight down her freaking crotch. It's gross. It's gross. And that's not just a picture on their website. That's the main page. That's their homepage, unless they've changed it. You just can't make this stuff up. I mean, I've been around a lot of yoga and I've never seen something like that as a homepage. So anyway, yeah, everybody needs to be safety conscious all the time. And so, yeah. I mean, cameras are good, locks are good, other ways of protecting yourself that, we'll just keep it under the hat. You just want to know that you're always like a Boy Scout, be prepared for anything, right? At all times. Annie, LOL, that's bad. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I do my yoga on screen, I know that sometimes I'm doing some weird positions like the happy baby position, for instance, or just like a straddle. But, I try to like move around and be aware of where the camera is so that it's not so rude for me or for anybody else. But yoga, you do some embarrassing poses. That's part of it, is just to be humble and not worry about how it looks, right? Sounds like an industry, Nico. I was referring to the yoga being dangerous joke. Yeah, Veronica, I figured. Yeah. It could be. I mean, if you were in a studio with an unlocked door, it's absolutely dangerous. And all it takes is one freaking creep. Wasn't there a yoga studio that had a live shooter a couple of years ago? I'm pretty sure there was. Maybe that was like pre-COVID. Because it was something that I had thought about, like that could be a very bad situation. And then I think it happened somewhere. I'll have to look it up. Green eyes, dangerous too now. Uh-oh, do you have green eyes, Veronica? I think you do. Yeah, people like that. Either way, corruption indicates dishonesty. Right. And when you're not being straightforward, and when you're like not allowing a mother to speak with one of the instructors that was interacting with the missing person, that's crazy. Like that's really what happened. And I want to know about her shoes. I want to know how many pairs of shoes did she take with her? I want to know how many shoes were in her tent when her mom and friend got there. And I really want to know more about Kylie's shoes, because we know there was an issue with the shoes in Kylie Rodney's case. There were the shoes that Nick saw when he did the dive and first found the vehicle and saw that Kylie was in there, and he says something about her shoes. And then her shoes are mentioned in the autopsy, that there was one on and one off, and that the one off had the sock off and the sock stuffed into the shoe. And then there was that whole like not Kylie last proof of life photo where Sammy, if it is Sammy, who I think is Sammy in the picture, is wearing like white Birkenstocks when the report was that she was wearing high tops. And I think high tops are what they said they saw in the window of the car when it was under all the way under the 14 whole feet deep water. And then also, I think it was like Converse high tops that they said in the autopsy, if I'm remembering right. But yeah, like the thing with Trinity Backus not having shoes on, and that's such a dead giveaway that something happened indoors, and then they were taken from that location, like carried from that location, and that they forgot to take a pair of shoes to make it look like they left on their own accord, to make it look like they ran away on their own feet when we won't even get into it. You guys know. Okay. Hello, CB. Hello. I got to get ready. So glad to see you today. You too, Veronica. Thank you, my dear. It's so nice to feel like we're building this community here. And I wanted to apologize for anybody who saw the video that I made yesterday. I want to make an apology to Ninja. Maybe I'll send her an email because I was, I'm always saying positive things about her channel and her work. And I said something, I phrased it as a criticism. And I hope she didn't take it the wrong way because I didn't articulate it very well. It was really a compliment. Like the criticism was that she was, the way I misworded it, was that she was being too kind and caring about what haters were accusing people that cover Kylie Rodney of being insensitive. And I think that she's checked in with herself enough that she's being sensitive. Like that's why she started her channel. That's why she covers Kylie Rodney. The last thing she's being is insensitive. But it was almost like she was giving them too much credit because I don't think that those kinds of trolls are being honest. Like they're not really saying like, oh, you're being mean. They're trying to shame you and use that as a guise, like, oh, you're being rude, you're being mean. It's like, no, I mean, if there's nothing to see over here because she just had a car accident, that's not being rude or mean to scrutinize that and to try to double, triple, quadruple check and make sure, like, really? That's what happened? Are you sure? Because there's all this information that just doesn't add up. There's no water in the lungs. There were 200 people spending 20,000 hours of manpower that couldn't find the car that was right there, like 50 feet from where they were standing, and like all of the rest of the MF crap. So anyway, yeah, community. So yeah, I felt bad about, I just hope that Ninja didn't take that the wrong way. So like I said, I'll email her to be sure. I was teasing about Gal went to Bahamas for yoga and didn't come back. Oh, I might have missed the teasing one or misread it. Let me see. Let me go back. Which one? Yeah, you always have a lot of good comments, Annie. And then I want to know where her purse went. And Taylor Casey's purse, where in the F is her passport? Like, that's just bizarre that her passport's missing. And then that brought the great question to my mind that I had never even thought of. Probably other content creators have discussed it over the last couple of years, is Kylie Rodney, did she have a passport? And if so, where is it? It's a big question. So let me see. I think I kind of covered all of my notes here. So I was saying about the Romeo or the lover boy angle of how, I mean, that's how can I just say the P word, PIMP? That's how they work, is they even marry somebody and, pretend like that they're the husband or the boyfriend, that they love this person, and that if this person loved them, they'd let them turn them out to make the money, because it's all about the money. Just the gaslighting and the manipulation, and it's so, so disgusting. That yoga is dangerous because of one incident. Annie. The ashram down there with their photograph on their homepage, or what happened with Taylor. I mean, there are people allegedly that were at that ashram when she went missing that left early when they found out that she was missing and that they weren't made aware of it. And then it's also reported that there were people who came to the ashram after she went missing that left early when they found out about it. So, it's one thing to have a person go missing. It's another thing to have it be handled so poorly. And it seems like this has been handled very poorly. And, there's no transparency, and the coinky-dink of that police chief being put on the administrative leave on July 5th, the same day that Taylor Casey's, that the second social media post was put out by the authorities there. So also we know that they had the wrong freaking birthday. If you Google her birthday will show up incorrectly as November 7th of whatever year she was born. I think it was 1982. But she just had a birthday earlier this month. It's July 11th. So again, is that just like a typo? Is that just an error? Like, that's huge to have that on social media. And I think that's what I saw on some of the bulletins too, was November 7th as opposed to July 11th. And, when you have no description of the clothing that they were wearing, even though it very well easily could have been the yellow YTT t-shirt and the white pants that they were required to wear every day for their classes and for their training, to not have a specific time and place of the last time that they were seen. You guys could probably hear my husband laughing in the background. Quit being so happy, sweetie. Anyway, sorry about that. And you guys probably don't care. It just distracts me as I'm trying to talk and all these words are getting all jumbled. So what was I saying about the wrong birthday, just like Kylie Rodney's case, the lack of being specific with the time and place of the last sighting, and the lack of just all that basic information on the missing persons posters. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Taylor is what I was talking about. Sad all the way around. It really is. And I'm hoping that more social media and more mainstream media will be talking more about Taylor, getting her photograph out there, getting her name out there, getting her story out there. And really what I wanted to say today is that I think people need to start boycotting any kind of travel industry to the Bahamas. I think that our U.S. government should cut them off. You always need to hit in the pocketbook to make people feel it. And if you don't do something drastic like that, I don't think they're going to change anything. And I don't think that I think there should be a travel ban, and I don't think it should be lifted until people know what happened to Taylor. That's just my opinion. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, yeah, and that person I was saying yesterday that says that she's one of Taylor's best friends, Jessica Savano, who has her own YouTube channel in the multi-million-dollar industry of being a travel vlogger, and that oddly she recommends on her channel, allegedly, that women travel alone. Have you ever heard of something like that? I've never heard of anything like that. You took the words right out of my mouth. I wish the US would go up the security level. Oh, and I was going to look that up because they've been at the level 2 security level since January. And I don't know how high those security levels go. I would think like maybe a 3 or 4 would be like the lockdown, like the travel ban. I don't know. If anybody knows or wants to Google it, please chime in. Wrong birthday, misspelled names. That stuff, names, was not done on Karen Reed case, so they would drop from sight the bad characters, in my opinion. And remember, Trinity Backus's initial missing persons poster didn't even have a last name on it. And I'm pretty confident that she had just moved back in with Deputy Chris Stanio, her estranged stepfather, because her mother, Andrea Stanio, definitely had just moved back in with Deputy Stanio. That's a fact. And the other fact is that Trinity was living with her mother. So Trinity probably moved into Christopher Stanio's house with her mother. He's a Nevada County sheriff's deputy. And then she goes missing in Nevada County. And mind you, that he was some of the boots on the ground in Kylie Rodney's case. And then that other weird connection with Trinity's boyfriend, whose mother's name is Sunshine Fowler. Sometimes I get it confused and say Summer Fowler. It's Sunshine Fowler. Sunshine Fowler was friends with Lindsay Rodney Neiman, and she helped to officiate Kylie's celebration of life. And her son, his other redhead, green-eyed girlfriend, almost 12 months to the day before Trinity went missing, Paisley Woodard was hit by a car and killed when he was dating her. So the kid was like 17 and had 2 girlfriends unalive, almost a year to the day apart. I think Paisley, was Halloween, so it was like 4 a.m, so it was November 1st. And then Trinity went missing, I believe, on November 7th the following year. So Paisley Woodard was 2021, and then Trinity Backus was 2022, about 6 weeks, no, twice that long, about 3 months after Kylie went missing. Again, almost to the day, if Kylie allegedly went missing on August 6th, and then 3 months later, Trinity goes missing, and then 2 days later, she's found. Allegedly, she ran out of the house in the snow and sleet at 10 at night with no shoes on. And then her feet were like all clean and, unmarked, unscathed when she was found under bramble that they had to cut through with a freaking chainsaw. None of that story makes sense. None of that story makes sense. These people, it's just gross. It's absolutely gross. Also, wasn't she in the military? They should be up in arms. Right. She was a veteran of the Air Force. Yep. I wish the U.S. would up travel warnings in New Orleans, Tennessee, Texas, areas of missing men, etc. Yeah, good point, Annie Ruler. Kylie's celebration of life was not a celebration of her life. Very, very good point, Nico. And then you got to remember too, so Paisley Woodard and Trinity Backus were both in Grass Valley, the kind of the other end, the west side of Nevada County. And then what was I going to say about that? The celebration of life. Oh, that Kylie's family moved from the Lost Trail Lodge to Grass Valley. And Grass Valley is not a very big town. It might be 20,000, might be 40 at the most. It's a pretty low population. Oh, these people, this weird crap. So if Trinity was tripping like they said she was the night that she went missing, wouldn't they want to track down where those substances came from and who gave them to her, who supplied them to her, who sold them to her, how did she get them, who was involved? And I said Nick Cabacunia yesterday. It was Nate Cabacunia, one of the many Nates. Remember, there was like 8 Nates at that party allegedly. Nate Wu, Nate Hamburglar, Nate Cabacunia, and then a whole bunch of others. I don't even know their names. But Nate was finally charged with supplying fentanyl to Marie. Oh, I put her name in the thing yesterday. Did I write it down in my notes? This 15-year-old in not in Grass Valley, in Rosedale. I think that's in Placer County. So Nate Cabacunia, who was allegedly at this party, was the one who supplied that other young woman, that 15-year-old, Wolf. Her last name is Wolf. Is it Marie Wolf? What did I just say? Yeah, let me look her up real quick because that just drives me nuts when I'm doing that. I'm covering too many cases with too many names, but it's something like that. So if I Google Nate Cabacunia, Nate Cabacunga, I think, and then I think it's Marie Wolf. Jules Marie Wolf. Yeah. So it wasn't until October of 2023, the first California fentanyl red rum sentencing in Placer County. But it happened, I believe, in June of 2022. So it probably says in this article. Rosedale, Jules Marie Wolf. Yeah, Jules. Sorry, I've said Jewel. Nathan Evan Cabacungan, the first person in California. That's crazy. Placer case was first California fentanyl red rum conviction. He was 22 when he was convicted, so he was 21 the previous year when he supplied this to a 15-year-old. And I think he assaulted her too, right? Disgusting. But he was at this alleged party that Kylie went missing at, and this was just a few weeks, maybe 6 weeks, because Jules Marie Wolf, that might have been in June, and then Kylie went missing allegedly early August. Grass Valley population is under 14K. Thank you, Nico. That's crazier. I said like 20 or 40. Man, the smaller these communities are, the more tight-knit they are, the more we know everybody knows each other. So for Kylie's family to move to Grass Valley, where Sunshine Fowler lives and where Trinity Backus passed away, where Paisley Woodard passed away, 14,000. I think the population of Truckee in the summertime is just like 8,000. Like it's tiny. Even though they're like 40 minutes apart, and there's not that much of a population in between the two either. So the fact that they're in the same county and, in a very rural, rustic area that's very underpopulated because it's just not a safe place to live. It's not a safe place to raise your kids. It's not a safe place to live, even if you don't have kids. I mean, unless you like avalanches and such. First to be charged ever for a red rum for rugs, but he was already in jail during the supposed time of party at Prosser. Was he? I thought he was at the party allegedly. CB. That's interesting. But if he was in jail, then thank you for correcting me. Yeah. It's just so frustrating with Kylie's case. You know, in the event that she passed away the way that the official documentation says she did, then why has the California Highway Patrol not been able to produce a report for 2 years? It makes zero sense. And why would they have Homeland Security, U.S. Marshals, FBI, like 50 FBI agents? Why would they have them all out there on day one? And then they put the missing persons report. I mean, not the missing persons report. The GoFundMe went up on day 2 on August 7th. And this was in one of the most recent Ninja Chihuahua videos. And I just thought, is that weird to put up a GoFundMe when you're trying to say that your kid maybe decided to like drive off into the sunset because of the sweatshirt that her friends claim they loaned her with the weird Lana Del Rey lyrics on it? Like, really? Like, to me, that just seems like, okay, the parents are broke. Let's just get a GoFundMe going because we have a good excuse. But yeah, Ninja does a really good job in her last video breaking down the lawsuit with Upchurch and how even in the lawsuit from the Rodney Neiman family, or not Neiman, it's just the Rodney family, that lawsuit says that the GoFundMe was made for the family of Kylie Rodney, when that's what they changed it to. It was to be a reward for leading to finding her. And then they changed it to make it more vague for the family. But in the lawsuit, they misrepresent it. They make it sound like it was initially invented to be for the family. So that's not right. Like they either need to make an amend that, you know, what do you call that when you add something to a document? Is it an amendment? No, it's something else. My brain's not working. It's time to go. Help me out, people. Help me out. Added document to official report. It just drives me crazy when I can't think of a word. When my brain no worky. An addendum. And I didn't even have to see it. It didn't even come up, but that's what it's called, an addendum. So thank goodness my brain is still there. Okay. And there, you said it, Nico, an addendum. So yeah, they need to fix that on the lawsuit. Otherwise it makes the document null and void. If it's not accurate, you can't sue somebody with an inaccurate document. That's absurd. Let's see. There were also very professional looking flyers up in Truckee to make the community aware of fentanyl related unalivings uptick, but no need for a thorough autopsy of Kylie. Right. Yep. Placer did a disrespectful post during Kylie missing, said we disrupt our continuous Kylie Rodney search info to bring you this news, something like that. I have a screenshot. Well, and like that whole thing with the country for Kylie, that was like the most bizarre thing in the world. That's taking time and organization away from looking for a missing person to what? Celebrate? And then they tried to guise it with, well, we were hoping that she would hear the music and it would make her come out of her hidey hole or let her know that we were thinking about her or something ridiculous like that, when I don't know if they thought she was like being held captive somewhere, maybe they thought that that would torment her. Like, look, we're having a country party without you because we don't care that you're missing. I don't know. It's just a thought. It's very, very bizarre. It's like one of the weirdest things I'd ever heard of. It was disturbing. I made a few comments, and it was that he was being charged. Pretty sure he was in jail already. Yes, or an addendum. My speller wasn't spelling addendum. Yes, you guys, thank you for helping my brain function. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up unless there's other stuff you guys want to talk about today. Let's see. Just checking my notes here, making sure I got most of it. Oh, that's Steve Fisher. So yeah, I didn't say it. I want to say it specifically that there was the wrong birthday on some of the flyers for Kylie Rodney. They had it a whole year off, so it made it sound like she was already 17 and about to turn 18. That was weird. That was really freaking bizarre. I wanted to add this. This was cute. So Taylor Casey's nickname is Cat. Just a random factoid that I found while I was doing all that digging. Her friends and family call her Cat. I thought that was cute. So, yeah, leave the church alone. Leave the church guests alone. Just like the leave Jim alone. So weird. Or leave Kylie alone, right? Like leave the ashram guests alone. Like, no, when there's a situation, you need to be thorough. That's not harassing people. That's being thorough for safety's sake because you care. Okay, so allegedly there was a YouTuber reporting in the Bahamas about the voice note that was leaked that got that police chief put on the administrative leave, and that YouTuber was shot at when he was making a live report in the Bahamas, allegedly. I haven't been able to verify that. I'll do what I can to try to find that. Let's see. Just double checking to make sure I got it all. The shoes. We need to know about Taylor Casey's shoes, Cat shoes. How many shoes did she take with her? I'm going to look through the pictures of her and see, like, I know when she arrived, the day she arrived, she's wearing a lovely long, like kind of like hits right below the knee yellow dress. And there's a picture of her coming down the stairs carrying her luggage, and you can probably see shoes in that picture. Of course, when you're doing yoga, you're not wearing shoes. You're not wearing socks either. But yeah, I'm very curious how many pairs of shoes she would have taken with her on this trip. I would imagine not more than one or two because you're doing yoga barefoot. So, maybe like a pair of sneakers and a pair of sandals or something. So yeah, let's end with the honor and silence, because it seems like the Francis family, to me, has maybe been threatened that they need to promote to the public this honor and silence type of idea to all of us YouTubers and, people that care about Micah. that we're dishonoring her if we're not silent. I mean, I think that's what was so upsetting about the settlement announcement was they were saying, people need to like pull back from talking about Micah, like it's over, just, talk about passing Micah's law. Well, if you're talking about passing Micah's law, then you're saying that Micah was abused by her spouse in all these ways that Micah's law covers. But it's my guess that it's kind of just lip service, that their part of the settlement agreement was that they would try to encourage the public to back off and to, leave the church alone, leave the churchgoers alone. But to say that the protesters are harassing them, when as long as the protesters are law abiding and they're not being violent and they're not trespassing, you got to just deal with it. Yeah, the charges still need to be pressed in domestic violence cases, even when the victims say they don't want to press charges. So the way I look at this situation with Micah's family is that they're the victims of JP's domestic violence. So they're saying we don't want to press the charges anymore because we came to the settlement agreement because they've been threatened, basically, is my suspicion. I remember a mainstream media news saying a 27-year-old went missing in Kylie's case. Well, there was that couple that went missing the same day. The Latin American couple. I don't remember how old they were, but I think they were maybe about that age. But were they saying that Kylie was 27? Because even, just that 1 year makes a big difference, because saying that she was 17 instead of 16 would mean that she was less than a month away from becoming 18. So, what? Then they could say, well, that's why we didn't do the Amber Alert, was she was so close to 18. Like, that's bogus. I mean, the reason that they didn't do the Amber Alert was because they didn't want to. I mean, clearly all the criteria were there. The criteria that the person is under 18, that there's a vehicle involved, that the license plate of, that there's a vehicle that's suspected to be involved, and that there's a suspicion that they were abducted. There were all of those ingredients, yet they didn't do the Amber Alert. That's just effing nuts. Nico, an older lady did go missing. She was older than that and found safe. Okay, I don't remember that one. CB, if you're talking about the same story. And then there was, let's see, she was from Prosser, Tahoe area. Typo, 17. Oh, thank you, Nico. Fat thumbs, at it again. Yeah, they totally said she was 17. And then they were just like, oh, we had a typo. We just had the wrong year. And it's like, well, that's just kind of funny that it just happened to make her so close to 18. What, 24 days away from being 18? Mm-hmm. Yeah, a likely story. Anyway, you guys, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a lovely evening. It's just about almost a quarter after 12. It's 5:12, almost a quarter after 5. My brain is really shutting down. I guess I should have gotten off of here already. Yeah, I've just had a lot going on with my yoga and the family. Summertime is such a busy time with all the kids, the kiddos, and the dogs and the doggos, the cats. We have 2 dogs, 3 cats. So there's always some action, Jackson. And then my son, the one that doesn't live at home, he's coming to visit in a few days. So it'll be even more busy. But you know me, I like a challenge. So I always am so happy to be coming on live and talking with you guys and paying attention to these cases that I feel like really need attention paid to them. So we are not giving up on Micah. We're not giving up on Taylor. I almost said Tyler. And we are not giving up on Kylie Rodney. We're not giving up on Trinity Backus. Who else are we not giving up on? Anybody that needs our help, man. We're like the rescuers mice in the Rescuers movie, right? All right. That was like my favorite movie when I was in 4th grade, and I've loved it my whole life. Anyway, you guys take care. Have a great evening. Stay hydrated. Eat your protein. Eat your veggies. Relax. And just be kind to yourself, kind to others. Love and light. And we will see you on the next one. Hopefully, mañana. Thanks again, you guys. Have a great night.